Into the Heart of Advent, Chapter 15, Joseph. Our Bible reading is from Matthew's Gospel, Chapter 1, verses 18 to 21, and I'm reading from the UK edition of the New International Version. This is how the birth of Jesus the Messiah came about. His mother Mary was pledged to be married to Joseph, but before they came together, she was found to be pregnant through the Holy Spirit. Because Joseph, her husband, was faithful to the law and yet did not want to expose her to public disgrace, he had in mind to divorce her quietly. But after he had considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, "Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins." "Jesus," I ask him, "don't you ever worry?" "About what?" He turns his head to look at me, his eyes full of amusement and kindness. I never saw anybody look so relaxed and at home in the world. There's that perspicacity too. When Jesus looks at you, you certainly know you've been seen. "What is it you're worried about?" he says. "So many things. Money, my family, work deadlines, how to square all the circles and keep all the balls in the air and spin all the straw into gold." "And right now," he asks me, "what problems have you got right now?" "Well, I suppose none really." "So it's a habit then, the worrying?" "Yes, I guess it is." "So you don't ever worry?" He smiles. I learned a lot growing up with Joseph about appropriate responses. He showed me how to fashion a life of peace. For one thing, when God spoke to him, he listened. When Joseph discovered Mary was pregnant, that could have kept him awake at night, couldn't it? He might have fretted about his reputation or what to do, or just let it gnaw away at him. But he didn't. Instead, he decided the best course of action was to quietly end the relationship, and Joseph did everything quietly. Chatty he was not. Quiet, decisive, measured, thoughtful. He didn't lie awake worrying, he went to sleep in peace. And then an angel came to him in his dream. When he woke in the morning, he knew everything between him and Mary was okay, which I'm sure you'll agree was a better result than anxiety would have got him. Then, after I was born, we were dodging Herod and his family for a long while, moving from place to place until it was safe to settle. I think it's fair to say most people would be worried by the life of a refugee, by having to pick up work where you can and be grateful for charity and help wherever you go. A carpenter likes his own workshop with his things around him. Joseph did have his bag of tools, but he had to make shift without a lot that he really needed. He didn't complain, and because he didn't worry, we just saw it was all right. He trusted in God, and it was his job to look after us, and that's what I grew up knowing. Of course, he didn't tell me people were trying to murder me. He kept that to himself. He just moved on and kept out of harm's way. He didn't believe in worrying, in borrowing trouble from tomorrow. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof, he used to say. And then there was that mix-up in Jerusalem when I was a lad. When they lost you, I said, and searched high and low for you and eventually tracked you down in the temple. Yeah, that's right. When they finally found me, my mother, who always had something to say, took me to task. She said they had been worried out of their minds. Joseph didn't say anything. Ha! And you asked them why they'd been looking for you. Asked them, didn't they know you would be in your father's house? I wonder what Joseph made of that. Do you think he found it hurtful? He didn't really understand, Jesus says, but he listened. And then he just took me home. Like I said, he was a quiet man. Quiet, conservative, cautious and methodical. I had something of my mother about me. She wasn't impulsive, but she had the boldness of trust. She was a confident woman with a strong social conscience. And like I said, she always had something to say. I worked alongside Joseph every day. He taught me his craft. Joseph was a very able carpenter. He took good care of his tools and he was a skillful workman. And one day, not long after they lost me at the Jerusalem festival, while we were working side by side, he remarked in a casual sort of way, "Even if you know everything, sometimes it's better to keep some of it to yourself." And I saw that was so. I remembered it and learned the wisdom of silence as well as the imperative of speaking up. I saw it wasn't wise to cast your pearls before swine. I realised it wasn't helpful if people rushed about telling everyone they knew that I'd healed them. Silence keeps the way open, where too many words tend to block it. Living with Joseph was an education in silence, fostering the word. He showed me how quietness nurtures the prophetic spirit, how the word forms and grows under the skillful shaping of silence. The seed develops in silence deep in the earth, waiting for its time. Although silence, I say, can be almighty disapproving. Oh yes, he says, but Joseph wasn't that kind of man. Some silences are a form of withholding, but his quietness was more about acceptance and biding his time and thinking things through, feeling his way into the reality of a situation, putting his hand on truth. Then silence becomes presence. I know exactly what he means. That's how it feels being with you, I say. So often we don't even speak at all. You are just with me. And in the silence, I feel loved and understood. Good, says Jesus. Well, that's how it was with Joseph. He had the quietness of a man at peace with himself, and he knew better than to waste his energy on worrying.